So much that I've lost left me again. Water my flowers, smells like a storm. How dry your tears up so you can make more.
Hot shit. It is Mix Monday. It is time for Mix Monday. I only woke up like 2 hours ago, so Mix Monday is going to be a large coffee, extra large coffee from 7-Eleven. I like gas station coffee. I don't give a shit what anybody says about that. I could not care less if you have like a highbrow taste for fucking coffee and you like import fucking beans yourself and roast them, and I don't give a shit. I drink gas station coffee. It's like drugs for me, you know, or like alcohol. Like I don't care. I'll drink out of the toilet water if that's what's gonna get it right, you know. Like I don't really care. We'll figure out how to like get the taste right later. Let's worry about right now just getting the job done. Guess that's why I'm a minimalist in the plug-in world as well. I'm also drinking some Makers. Is that what I'm on? Yeah, Makers. I'm Makers. Makers and ice, right? And this week, we are going over a mix that just came out. The song was released on Friday by Johan Lennox. If you do not know Johan Lennox, you should know, like, he's one of my favorite artists to work with. Like we go back a long time. Like when we both were starting to find success in the industry, we met very early, and he is an actual genius. The dude went to Yale, like for composition, like is a composer, has been composing orchestras since he was like 6 years old, right? And now he was like, one day he took acid and listened to Kanye West and was like, okay, all right. I have been missing some parts of music, right? So he's like, cool. I'm going to go to LA. I'm going to start making pop music, right? And I'm going to bring orchestration back into pop music. And that's what he did. He came to LA. I met him when he was adding strings to a record that I was working on. And to this day, he'll tell you that the reason we became such good friends was like right off the bat, we had like a cello player or a bass player or something, and I was just being so abusive to them because they were like whiny, you know, they were like, where are my headphones? And I was like, you'll be fine, just sit down and play the part, you know? And Johan was like, this guy talks to string players. Everybody always treats string players like they're like dainty little princesses, you know, like don't hurt their feelings and they'll, you know, because they get paid a lot of money and shit. But like this string player's in there and I'm just like, man, you'll be fine. Sit down, play the parts. It's written there in front of you. You'll be okay. Just listen for the click. Was not like having any of his shit. And Johan really liked that about me. I didn't really like Johan at first because I was like, this fucking smart motherfucker. I tend to not like smart motherfuckers. Like if I meet a smart motherfucker, I tend to be like, okay, you know, not at first, you know, because I assume most people that are smart enough are also like con men or something, you know, like if you're smart enough, I assume that you have a grift already like set up, and I'm like trying to like weave my way out of it, like bobbing and weaving and shit. I don't trust smart people, man. I like dumb people because I'm kind of dumb, and then I don't have to like pretend whenever I'm around dumb people, like I know what I'm talking about. People always assume because I'm so good at this one thing that I'm actually like a smart person. But the truth is, no, dumb as a box of rocks. Such an idiot, man. I make the worst mistakes all the time. But it's like because I know about like engineering, they're like, oh, this guy's like a real wizard or some shit. And it's like, no, bro, I am not a wizard at all. This is the only thing I'm good at. It's like my autism like got me just right for this thing or whatever, you know? Self-diagnosed, I guess, kind of. The doctors say I have different problems, but that's a whole other story. Edwin McCain told me I just have adult ADHD. He was here and we were working one night and he was like, man, I never met another person with a worse case of adult ADHD. He's like, that's your problem, bro. There he is. Edwin just showed up. He said, man, he's like, you are textbook case to me of me, exactly me. And I really enjoyed that. So right as I say his name, he shows 100% sure of it. He says, yeah. So not a smart guy, just really good at this thing. And this thing this week is this song by Johan Lennox, which, man, it's out. It's on Spotify and YouTube or shit, you know, whatever the fuck people listen to music on. It's on there. You can check it out. It's called When Morning Comes. I think that this project that I'm doing with Johan right now is satisfying my creative bones so much. It is like one of the most brilliantly conceived and produced and executed records. When he brought it to me, I heard it and I was like, oh, I get it. You're doing this like Bon Iver thing, right? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, it's almost there, but I feel like I can get it really there. You know, like I feel like I can get it really there if you just let me fuck around. If you don't like any of the stuff that I do, it's gone. But you need to understand that when you're making a record like this, when you make an album like the way Bon Iver does shit, like the way Frank Ocean does shit, those albums must be made with an air of, fuck it, let's see what happens. Like everybody needs to, through the whole process, from the very first thing you recorded to the very last thing that's mixed, everybody needs to take a risk at every opportunity that they hear it. And that's how I looked at this thing, is like, it was a very good song. We can listen to the mix. Okay, no, decline, thanks. All right, we can take a listen to his original rough mix, which is right here. It's not drastically different, but the ways that it is different, it just night and day, right? Here, I'll just put us into like where the main drop happens. Oh no, let me do this real quick, hold on. Setup, IO, we're gonna send 3.4 out virtual. What? Let me do it. Oh, it's not gonna let me? Why is that not let me? Okay, so just let me do a different thing. Fine, whatever. Can I just do this and we'll do this. No, virtual 3.4. I forgot to set this up. I should have set this up. Okay, then we'll just send this out 5.6. Bam. All right, here's his mix.
I'll dry your tears up so you can make one.
I'm going to switch back and forth now. My mix. Now, if you were listening over on the Tube, which is where you can get this in high quality stereo fidelity, you would hear the mix just opens up completely whenever I switch. Here's back to his. In the chorus of this section right here, you really hear it. His mix, now mine. Back to his mix. if you had just heard his mix and never heard my mix, you'd thought, wow, man, this is a really cool mix. But I knew that his mix had so much more potential and so much more space to create inside of. And I'll show you some of the things that I did that made a huge difference. First of all, I have up here a track of this live drums stuff. This was just me. I played across this track like 2 or 3 times, and I just did cymbal swells, random noises. You'll hear here's some hi-hat here. It's like real randomly placed. These random little sounds that I'm adding, to me, I think we talked about this before. Whenever you're like copying the feel of something, when you're trying to do somebody's like style, you can pick out things about their style without just doing their thing. It's so easy to get the vibe of something without just sounding exactly like them. Now, I think this song does lend a lot of like, oh, this is Bon Iver, 33 a million or whatever the fuck it is, that the God, whatever the fuck. Did you add these after the fact and record them? Yeah, I recorded them myself, added them after the fact. This was all stuff that I was like, yo, your shit's there, but let me do a few things to up what you have here, right? It's like these little cymbal swells, these little noises. And I thought his original drums are banging, right? Let me just go to his original drums real quick. Solo. Those are pretty cool drums, but I thought, man, if I just doubled like the drum part and then pan those left and right, we would get like this really amazing primal drum sound that sounds like wide and live and all these things that people fucking love, but also sits in the track and does something really cool with the rest of the noise. Because the whole point of this was to make it just a mean, like this is not a clean mix. It's not supposed to be a clean mix. There's nothing about this that should sound clean. In fact, at the very end of all of this, I have a radiator on the master bus, just making it a little bit dirtier than it already is. Like just pushing the input, turning the mix down a little bit and pushing it a little bit more, taking a little bit of the top end off, making it meaner, like it's intentionally supposed to be as gritty as this could be. Another element that I think is really important about the way that you mix music like this, whenever you're mixing music that is supposed to be raw and gritty and have a vibe to it, you let mistakes or glitches or weird things like here, this fades out weird. But I'm like, no one's going to care. No one is going to notice that. It's just going to be an element in the whole big mix that sounds amazing. And I'll prove it. It almost works out perfectly because it cuts out underneath his "this is all we got" part. So it even opens up. Yeah, I'll switch back to the original mix. Here's the original for this same section. Going into that section too is just, it's wild. Whenever you roll into this section here, I'll play his going into that section. If you only heard that, you would think, wow, this is banging, you know, like this is a really good mix. But then you put this in place. There's another really interesting thing that happened in my mix that I just heard that, I did, honestly, this mix is damn near a masterclass for me in mixing. Like, I was so free and so open and did so many interesting things. And that's why I wanted to talk about this specific mix. His whole album, when he comes out, it's going to blow your mind. It's really, really, really good. I highly recommend you go follow him right now, Johan Lennox. His new stuff is going to blow your mind. If you're into like that kind of Bon Iver, like Jack White kind of vibes of shit where it's like real gritty and raw and mean and cool and just has a vibe, that's what this is. Notice, right before my mix drops for this drum part, listen to the piano. In any traditional thought process, that piano is way too loud and it's a little out of time. It doesn't quite hit on the 3 of the thing, and it's like it kind of is weird. I purposely accentuated that loud ass piano, but then listen to what happens after that. You hear this loud piano, then you'll really hear the piano again for the rest of the fucking chorus. No sound. Glad you guys keep me track. All right. I was just extolling the virtues of technology while also fucking up everything about technology. All right, so there's some cool stuff in here. Let's go through. I showed you the drums. The drums are pretty amazing. One of the things I did on a lot of the vocals that was really fun, I have this old mono Vermona spring reverb in my studio. It's like a normal... hold on, is sound back? You got everything? Sound everybody good? Everybody good? Yeah, all right, sounds good. All right, cool. So one of the things I like to do is I have this Vermona spring reverb in here, and I will pass the whole vocal through this spring reverb. It sounds like this. It's amazing. Now you'll notice that it's kind of it's in there. That's not automated. Well, it is a little bit automated, I guess. I'm accentuating my things that I did. But you can see these things are going up and down throughout the song, and like it's pairing with this lead vocal here. And this is something you can do just even if you're not doing this in the box, is like doing these little automations and doing these little things. Like when I was adjusting the input gain on the Vermona while I was playing this vocal and recording this spring reverb back in. So I'm twisting the knob on the input gain to automate it before it even, before the automation, to have it automated naturally. So I got all these wild like automations happening in here, playing into it, using the input knob like an instrument, exactly. And this is something like, honestly, this is something anybody can do. You can do this on your plugins and shit. But I really think if you have the ability to send some stuff out into natural things, in the room, whatever you have, it does not matter. I literally don't care what it is. It could be the cheapest, most bullshit piece of gear ever. A guitar pedal even. If you can send stuff out and process it through those things and do live manipulations, you will find your mixes increasing like exponentially in their like creativity and in their sound. In the way that like they feel different and unique and interesting to people, and they can listen to them more than once and still be finding things inside of your mixes. I think that that's like probably one of the coolest parts of mixing for me is like I'm putting a little taste everywhere, and it's like weird things that you're like, I don't even know what that is. I just know for a second it does a thing that I like and I can't understand it, right? I love that shit. Natural effects, natural things in the room really make a big difference. Up here I have another spring reverb that I printed. That's the piano. What is this? Oh, this is the piano as well. This is the piano through that spring reverb. I'm just chopping off all the bottom from it or whatever, but playing it right along with the piano. Now, I don't know specifically. I did a lot of work on this stuff. I recorded some of it. He worked on it for like, basically we went to a house and we recorded a bunch of shit. And then like 6 months later, he was like, here's a record. And I was like, okay, like, wow, you did a bunch of stuff. And it was like really, it was pretty interesting. There was a lot of cool stuff going on. And so I don't know what I did on this as far as recording, but by the time it got to me from him, it was all stereo, like Logic tracks. He basically just exported everything straight out of Logic, sent it to me as stems, and I started working on it. And so, it was just a really cool, it was just a collaboration. That's the best way I could describe it. Lots of really cool stuff. All right, so here's his humming track. This track was really cool to start with, but I went for it, So here's what it sounded like naked raw. And Johan has no fear in sending me how does the raw sound like that? Again, this is Johan shit. He has no fear in sending me just like, I came up with this weird idea and I fucked this thing up and I looped this part and I did this thing over top of it. Like you can hear, it's fucking weird, Something else soloed. I don't know what the fuck it is. Let me just mute here. That'll probably do it. So I took this thing and I started adding shit to it. First I did the Pro Q3, chopped off the bottom and the top, pushed a little bit of the middle. I thought that was like the right vibe for this, a little bit of brightness at the top too. Then we went with the micro shift after that. Now, I am constantly telling y'all not to fuck with the phase of your shit. And the reason that I tell people that is because people don't know what they're doing, and so they fuck it up all the time. I can fuck with the phase anytime I want because I'm cognitive of what that's doing with the other thing. Fucking with the phase on a part like this, on a track like this, is like it's giving this weird dimension to both sides, but it is so full and everything else is not phase fucked with, so it sounds really clean and it's just putting it in a different space. It's okay to fuck with the phase if you understand what you're doing, but most people don't understand what they're doing, which is why I tell them not to fuck with the phase. It's just a thing, right? After that, the filter freak, I was probably just having a light sweep. The filter freak used in this manner is really cool. This is something I like to do a lot, is like having some sort of very light boost of resonance on a piece like this that's just a droney type thing going through the track, because then I can turn it down, and as that resonance is going through, is sweeping through, it's boosting it to your attention just for a hair, you know, and then it lets it sit back. It's almost damn near like automation where I'm bringing it up a little bit, but instead of doing it all over, I'm just doing like a single little band of automation, you know? I think that filter freak can be really good for that. It's just doing this little thing that's going to kind of rhythmically draw your attention back to this part. After that, it looks like I went with the ATR 102, probably just doing some fucking tape saturation, just pushing it as much as I can. And then somebody said it needs Valhalla. It certainly does. And also it looks like a delay. And it looks like I automated that delay. Let's see where we're at. Let's see. Mute. Nope. It's a level automation. Oh, it's not automated at all. It looks like I didn't even automate it. Maybe I just put it on and thought I was going to and never did. That's interesting. I mean, I do shit like that all the time. It's not that surprising or anything. All right. Look at that automation for this track, though. This is me bringing this thing in and out as wherever necessary for as long as necessary to give it a feel, but not have it drown. If this thing was one volume the entire time, it would be just in your freaking head all the time. But you don't want it like that. You want it to come in and out and duck in and out, so it draws your attention away from stuff and then towards stuff and back and forth. Did anybody during that little playback right there hear, potentially, knowing what we just did with that humming, what's conflicting with this whole mix that I was probably considering? Anybody in the comments? Anybody in the comments got a, oh, I heard this thing that's in the exact same frequency range and doing a very similar thing? How did you deal with that? Ooh, tricky. It was, in fact, if you were paying attention, these strings. Listen to these strings. Cello pad, specifically. Now, I can tell you exactly how I dealt with it by listening to it. These strings are, bam, out here. They're wide, right? They're way out here. And those vocals are more here and here, you know? Everything in a mix has a space, and if you put it all in the right space and pick the right things for the right space, right, the lower you go with a instrument, the more I feel like it should be towards the center. And then as you get higher in the frequencies, you should be more wider out, right? And that's how I organize my mixes, because I have some sort of problem. right? But if you listen to these again here,